Hey, everybody. It's really great to be back with you after we took a week off last week. And we have an amazing guest today, Carl Studna. He is a multifaceted photographer, an inspirational speaker, teacher, and author. And he's done some pretty amazing portraits of some pretty famous people like Paul McCartney, the Dalai Lama, and many others. And he's also has an innovative method to his work called luminescence. And he teaches a new paradigm for radiating the light that resides within, revealing each person's authentic gifts. Carl is the author of the award-winning book, Click, Choosing Love, One Frame at a Time, and the number one bestseller, Amazon bestseller book, Evolution of Love, of Loving. So Carl's life's work is dedicated to inspiring us to rest in the pure awareness of our illumined path, both in front of the camera and behind it, but mostly in our individual lives. And Carl is also the member of the esteemed Transformational Leadership Council and travels the world documenting beauty through diversity. So let's welcome Carl.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, Wanda. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
I know, it's so exciting. I've loved photography all my life. I was just, as preparing for this, I was thinking about all the cameras that we've had, from the little box camera when I was a kid to the little 35 millimeter that we finally graduated it, all the way up to using iPhone. So anyway,
Who would have ever thunk that you could actually get decent pictures from this thing?
I know it. It's amazing. So the camera industry has gone crazy, I guess. But anyway, why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about how you got started in this amazing art?
Sure. I was in high school. It was 11th grade, and I took a photography class, and that was it. It's like, I didn't realize that my soul was yearning for finding something creative, an art form that I could really devote my life to. I didn't know that until I got into photography, and then I was so immersed. I just immediately got so immersed into it. Everything about it, I related to the magic of the developing in the darkroom, the magic of framing things, and me being the one to decide and choose what I felt was essential or important to frame, and then be able to share that with others, and getting good feedback from people. So it just went on from there, from high school into college, and focusing my second 2 years major in art and photography. And I lived in an amazing area in the 70s in Northern California, in Sonoma County at that time, and was in college up there. And came back to LA in 79 and started my business. And so I've been at it for 42 years. And it never gets boring, because every day and every moment is new and has the opportunity to see new things and to see the light emanating from within and from outside in new ways all the time.
Yeah, that's that idea of seeing the light within every living essence, people and nature and things like that. And you have captured some amazing things. I've gone to your website, and I think Tom is going to put your website in the comment box so people can see that if they're interested in talking to you or having you book. Let me put that up there. Having book a session with you. That email that I sent you the other day about changing from taking a photograph to receiving a photograph really touched my heart. So tell us a little bit about what you see and how you decide to I even don't like to use the word capture now, but how you receive an image and think, I want that to express.
Yeah. At this point, because it's been close to 50 years I've been doing this, it's so much a part of my nature, where so much of it is about the light, right? And I was saying before, not just the outer light, but the inner light. So sometimes I'll actually see something lit in a very distinctive way that fills me up. Just whew, it's like inspiration, being inspired, this spirit coming through. The more I open my channels, my portals, and allow myself to fully see and be receptive to the light, the sacredness of light,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's outer or inner, it can be inner. I can feel that in a person or an animal or in nature. I can feel that light. I just become more and more receptive to it all the time, so that when everything lines up in a certain way, like let's just say it's a landscape, because I live in the Colorado Rockies and
Mm-hmm.
around beautiful nature all the time. And I have a horse and two puppies. And so there's an elk are roaming around and deer. So there's always things around me that are opportunities to see anew. That's I'd say one of the greatest teachings or insights is learning how to see anew in
Yeah.
in each moment, rather than taking things for granted. So then we're talking not just about photography, because it really becomes more of a state of consciousness. How do we, in each moment, awaken to allow ourselves to see everything around us anew and fresh, and like a new adventure? Remember, like when we're a kid and we see things new, like, wow, oh, going on an adventure. So it's opening up those channels in that way.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
No, it's like our eyes are a camera, really. And
Mhm.
once we take something in, then it becomes a memory, and something will trigger a memory of that scene that you had 3 years ago. Or, you can visualize again your own mother's face and things like that. So I think we have to be aware of that also.
Yes. Yeah. And along that line, photography it's still, I think when I started 50 years ago, it was really not even acknowledged as being that legitimate an art form yet. I mean, it really wasn't.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. So over the last 50 years, it's become considered to be more legitimate. And there are so many components to photography,
Mhm.
as you were starting to allude to. I mean, the act of uh, photographing, taking the picture, and then there's the act of being able to review it later, you know,
Mhm.
and all of the feelings and everything that can come up, whether it's a sentimental picture or a picture that's of beauty that activates certain memories. So it's very, very unique in that way. All these other forms of art, usually you see in galleries, or you maybe have some in your house hanging, or a sculpture that you look at. But photography, especially now with cameras and storage on cameras, and people are looking at photographs all the time. So they really are very, very unique and have the power to activate not only memories, but spark a greater inspiration within us.
Yeah, I know that is really I've been amazed. I went for a walk at Hudson Gardens a few weeks ago, and I saw the most beautiful things there that I captured, and I actually posted them because seeing beauty everywhere is part of being a healthy, alive, vibrant human being.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons that I try to bring forth so much creativity, because that's part of being a healthy human being. Is if you Because we all have the creative impulse within us, and it's going to manifest in many, many different ways,
Mhm.
and you are manifesting it in your way, and it adds joy to our life, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I especially during the pandemic, when I've been home most of the time, one of the things that I felt I could do, not just for myself, but as a way of sharing, is post more on social media
Yeah.
things that I'm photographing. Like, I can do that. I'm home almost all the time. I'm out most days walking a lot more, being out in nature.
Mhm. Mhm.
We got these little puppies. There are
Yeah.
always tons of amazing pictures. So that's been an opportunity, to to be able to share more and to recognize the value that that has for a certain percentage of people, that look at the pictures. And it's fascinating, what photographs, what images trigger feelings or thoughts or ignite something in one person might not be with another. And it's really, really interesting in that way. So it never gets boring. And I'm just, with the pandemic, just, with the vaccine now and things beginning to open up to some degree, but not really for me, in certain ways, it's I can't wait, is basically what I'm saying, till there's the greater opportunity to be in the flow more, working more personally with people. I'm working with vaccinated people now. And so it opens the door for that. But there was, for most people, there was a huge time where it really required not shutting down our studio, because I could still go in there. We have a beautiful 2-story studio on our property, and it's just a magnificent place to create and for people to come and to rejuvenate. And there's a guest room for people if they want to do a more deluxe package and staying and having it be a blend of retreat. So, that's the kind of thing that was part of my vision for many years. In the last few years, we've been able to fulfill that. And so now, as we're slowly beginning to come out of this, people can start coming again.
Yeah, I love the idea. It's on your website, I think. I love the idea of having a place where somebody could come and they are allowing you to capture their essence in a series of photographs. So I think it's amazing. It's kind of like dancing in the light, isn't it?
It is, and that's a good segue into why I never get tired of being with people and photographing people, because the greater that I continue to open up my way of seeing and feeling things, and growing within myself, spiritually, emotionally, it allows me a greater vision and a greater perspective and feeling into each individual, so that it's never the same. Just like cloud formations are never the same. Every individual is so unique. So I can be with somebody and it's always a new experience because everybody is so unique. And it's the opportunity, as we were starting to talk about, to rest into with being with someone and creating a safe space.
Yeah.
So that people can let go and they can go, oh, this actually can be something I enjoy. This could be something fun. Which is novel for a lot of people, because most people don't associate having their picture taken as a fun or joy-filled experience. So it's opening the door to new possibilities of, oh, this can be a time where I can come and have someone that I build a trust with and allow who I really am to come through. Who my mission, what I stand for, my essence, my presence, allowing any mask or guise that has been there to wash away, no comparisons, releasing anything that any old stuff of comparing how you should look, and just coming back to that place of, oh wow, here I am.
Yeah.
And then when someone's in that place, woo, those pictures are shining. They're so relaxed. Their eyes are present. They're connected. Their mouth is relaxed, and the pictures are engaging. And then people see those pictures and they go, "Ooh, I want to know that person."
That's right. As you were talking, you talk about opening up. Well, the image of the aperture of your heart opening up so that you can receive more.
Aperture of the heart. Ooh, that's a really good one. That's really good.
That image just came. See what happens when you're being creative and talking to other creative beings.
That's
so
right.
All of our folks out there, people say, "Oh, I'm not creative." I said, "Yes, you are. You are creative in ways beyond your imagination, and we need to bring that forth because it does bring happiness and peace. And when that happens, your whole energy in your body changes. So, that's true. So." Carl, tell us about some of your most amazing people that you've had the honor to capture their essence.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the first one I'll talk about is the Dalai Lama. I was invited in 1999 by Michael Beckwith to come. Association for Global New Thought was doing their first synthesis dialogues in India with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So I was invited to come and document that, and my wife Cynthia joined me, and so we had just gotten married like 3 weeks or before. So it really was a part of our honeymoon, and then we went on from there to Bhutan. But it was 5 days with the Dalai Lama and all these thought leaders from around the world coming and engaging with him for 5 days about looking at new paradigms for peace for the new millennium, because it was just about to go into 2000. And the whole experience was exceptional. But the first day when he arrived, that was the most vivid in my memory, because everybody's up in the temple, the Normalika Institute temple, waiting for him. And down the hill is where he's driven up, and there's this narrow path that winds up to the temple. And so I've gotten a little bit up the path, waiting for him to start walking up the path. I thought that'll be a nice shot getting as he's coming up the path. And so he just comes around the corner, and he's walking with Brother Wayne Teasdale, who's a dear friend, and he sees me sort of on the corner of the path, and he comes over with this huge smile, and he bows and says, "Hello." And so I took a picture, like right before that, and then I was able to also just be with him and be in honor and prayer. And then he walked up and on. So that was the beginning. And that moment, that instant, changed my life in a certain way, because he was seeing me, but this is true with everybody, not just me. I mean, he was seeing me as it really felt like, oh, there you are. I haven't seen you in lifetimes, like, how are you? And it was that level of openness and recognition. So that modeled for me, like, okay, this is how it can always be.
Yeah.
Right. And it was very, very, very deep. And then the next 5 days, I had the opportunity at times to be in small, close quarters and get beautiful pictures of him and documenting the whole experience. And he just modeled the entire time. He modeled really what he's known for. He modeled continuous compassion and joy. He could go from wise sage in one moment to then thinking about something else that, like completely like another train of thought, and then he just laughing like a little child.
I know. I love that laughter.
Yeah.
Just hearing you talk about it, I'm already feeling joy in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to take an image within and store it.
Yes. Yeah. So that was one of the most profound, as far as like even a soul growth experience for me, like real soul growth. The other would be Paul McCartney, just because I grew up with the Beatles, and they were one of the biggest positive influences on me growing up. Not just their music, but their lightheartedness, their play, their creativity. They modeled young adults, because in '65 I was 10 years old. So I followed them from me, through their short career of 7 years, really. But it was really me growing from a 9-year-old in '64 to to 14 in 1970. So into teenage years, and they were so influential on me on so many different levels. So when I had the opportunity to spend, I think it was 2 days with Paul McCartney at Skywalker Ranch in Northern California, I was hired to come in and shoot production stills, take him aside and do these portraits. And he also modeled this beautiful, he was such a beautiful example of being joy-filled, carefree in certain ways, lighthearted, kind with everybody, really kind, but didn't miss a beat with everything that was going on because they were making this video, and so he was attuned to everything, but he was able to be so present and kind and carefree in a certain way. I thought, oh, that's how I want to be. I want to be like that in my life. So here's one of the pictures right there.
Okay, is that Paul?
That's Paul. That was one of the shots that I took during that time. So that was just a more moody shot. I mean, we got so many different pictures, ranging from moody to very playful, to just very present. Yeah. So, and then there's another. That's Eric Clapton playing in the rain, right to my left. And so I've had the opportunity to, especially in the 80s and 90s into the 2000s, to photograph a lot of the iconic musicians I grew up with. And I attribute that was my passion. I never was a musician, but I love music. These guys influenced me tremendously. And so when I was carving my niche more with my career, because that was such a passion, I started with doing some album covers for some new age albums of some friends of mine, and then it just building from there and working for a music magazine and being able to start a greater collection of musicians on the music magazine that built a portfolio. And then it just expanded and grew from there. But it was all because they inspired me, and I really wanted to hang with them. I just wanted to meet them and hang with them and hopefully get some striking pictures. So,
and then you married a musician.
I married a musician. Cynthia is an amazing vocalist and songwriter, and so many other things too. Yeah. So music is such a strong component in my life.
Yeah, I think we had interviewed Brian Leatherman a couple of weeks ago, who is the conductor of the Cherry Creek Chorale. So anyway, we just keep bringing in creativity, because I think for me, it's the essence of life. I write poems.
Beautiful.
Not always. It's like I have to be in the mood. It's like the poem comes and gets me and sits me down, so to speak, and moves my pen across the paper. And I'm sure there are moments for you when you don't want to have a camera in your hand all the time, but can you say a little bit about this idea of being in the present moment, and what you can't take a picture of the past, you can't take a picture of the future. All you can do is be in that moment and see what's coming forward for you.
Yeah, I mean, it really can serve as an incredible meditation, mindfulness and meditation with photographing. Before there were point and shoots, before there were Instamatics, before all of that, before there were just handheld cameras were very large. They were these speed graphics and other 4x5s and big, large format cameras, and you had a tripod. So you had to be more mindful so I'm talking about more in the pioneering days of photography. It started off as a much more mindful process because it took a long time. You had to have the camera mounted on a tripod. You had to be really decisive about what you wanted to photograph, right? So Ansel Adams, who was one of my heroes, and many of the other pioneers, he is known for waiting. This is all talking about being in the present moment, waiting for all the elements doing an incredible landscape. And when there's all these incredible landscapes that he did. One in New Mexico, sunrise in New Mexico is a phenomenal one. All these Yosemite shots, but he was known to choose a spot and then wait. He could wait for a week or two for all the elements to come together, for all the lighting, how the shadowing is falling, the time of day, the clouds, all these subtleties, and just waiting for that perfect essential moment. So it really photography began more like that. And then as it evolved, you could hold a camera and then you're just taking pictures of people, or, and today, my nephew got married several years ago, and he had a photographer there that was young and was raised with digital, and I was amazed and kind of shocked at how this guy was shooting, because even with the pose shots of people, he would treat it more as video, meaning that he'd have people stand there in a group and go and just do the motor drive, like, and shoot 40 shots of that, and then go back to them later in editing and look to see which expression of the most people is the best shot. And I'm watching that and going, well, number one, I would never want to spend that much time in editing to go through all these, but you're losing, my point is, you're losing the gift. To me, it's like part of the gift of still photography is waiting and feeling into that perfect essential moment, that perfect moment where everything lines up. And the more that you practice that, you can just feel into it more, so that it's almost like you're at one with that moment, and you can feel it coming, and then there it is, And that's why my first book is called Click: Choosing Love One Frame at a Time, because if we are choosing love with each frame that we take, or each moment that we see, then that is it's a form of mindfulness. It's just being clear and feeling into that perfect moment. And when you, and I'm speaking in photography right now, but it applies, I think, in every moment.
Yeah.
When you're really there, when you're in that zone and you feel into it, you know it, and then what manifests when you look at, well, now you can look at it immediately, but it used to be with negatives or slides, you had to wait and get them back. And I'll share a quick story. Years ago, I was working on my second book, Evolution of Loving, photographing these couples, beautiful, intimate photographs of couples, their love for each other. It's really, I'm very proud of this project. And so one of the couples I was photographing underwater, and the underwater nudes of them. And they were just embracing underwater, and just these beautiful sculpture-like moments underwater. And there was one, I did a lot of different shots. I'm underwater, and I've got a mask on, and I've got a protective thing over my camera. So I wasn't sure what I was getting, but I'd had enough experience to think, okay, I think some of these are going to look good. So I'm looking at the proof sheet, because it was film, and I'm going down the proof sheet. I'm trying to get my hand in here. Going down the proof sheet, I'm looking at all the frames, and there's one frame, and I look at it and go, oh my God, because it was perfect. It was perfect. It was one of, I don't know how many pictures I've taken over 50 years that I would consider perfect, but this is one of them. And when I saw it, it took my breath away, because it was everything lining up in that perfect framing, in that perfect moment. And it looked like it could have been a Michelangelo sculpture, where everything was just so right. The lighting, the pose, the expression, the feeling. And I had this wave, this chill come over me that felt like, oh, this wasn't me. This was beyond me. Yeah. This was me being present, being available, being receptive, as we were talking before about that article, being a receptive channel for the elements lining up in that perfect moment, and then just feeling into it and clicking.
I can almost feel that. I mean, just listening to you talk, I already have an image of this couple underwater, embracing each other in that holy dance of love. And you found, because you were present to it and you were clicking, you managed to capture a moment that was extraordinary.
Yes.
And that's what happens in our life if we're focused and if we're mindful and paying attention.
Yeah.
That happens for me sometimes with a patient. I'm sitting across the table from them and engaged with their story or sometimes their pain, their suffering. And there's a moment, and I don't know always if they know it, but I know it. And I get the essence of where they are right now. And that helps me help them.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And you were talking before about creativity. I want to just say a little bit more.
mhm.
Yeah. For me, and I really want to stress this for everybody, I see that creativity, it's who we are. If we're alive, we're creative. It's a creative act being born, and
Yeah.
every moment of our lives is an act of creativity. So the greater uh, that we can trust that we're here to be creative outlets and channels for whatever. It could be whatever. It could be whatever. Whatever. You know, opening up our possibility of what's creative. That's really what I'm wanting to say. Is like the more that we can open to finding different things that feel creative, because when we are feeling creative, it it ignites us. It ignites us. Creativity, I think, is one of the greatest antidotes for depression.
You got me. I was going to say it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You
yeah,
can.
yeah, because it's expressive. It's
Yeah.
creativity. When we say yes to it, we're expressing, we're being open, we're letting in the inspiration in whatever form, and then
Yes.
and then it drives us, and it acts like a locomotive. Like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And if we trust it and allow it to continue to build, then we can continue to move with it in whatever direction, and it continues to ignite us. So it's contagious in that way too.
It is contagious. And might we catch that contagion rather than some of the ones that are
Mm.
floating around in our atmosphere right now?
Yes, yes.
So I think, how, okay. You have anything else you want to say? Because I could go on forever,
Oh,
but
I know that last piece, I think, was probably the greatest thing that I would want to say. Um,
okay.
yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you. Yeah, we could just keep going on because
I know it's fun.
it's fun, and we're doing what ignites us. So when you asked me, that's how I felt. It's like, of course, I'd love to connect with you and to share about
Yeah,
all of this, because it's why I'm here.
that's right. Well, art is when I say art, I mean, we're all artists. We're all creative geniuses in our own way, but that's our gift to the world.
Mhm,
It's a gift of what we've brought into this expression to give back to the world in service.
mhm.
So, I mean, you're serving through the way you see things and allow them to come into your awareness, and then you're able to, uh, I guess I'll use the word capture, but we know
Yeah,
that
I
it's
know. I,
not.
I use the word preserve.
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Preserve.
yeah. I use the word preserve. Document's a little too cold, so
I
preserve is the
know.
closest replacement for capture I've been able to find. But I stopped using capture for years now. As I was emailing with you, taking pictures, I'm still using that because people won't know what I'm talking about if I'm using other words. So,
I
but,
know.
but preserve's a good one. And
I
uh,
like that.
yeah, and I guess the last thing I want to say is that one of the greatest gifts that I always receive whenever I'm with someone and I'm photographing them is for them to walk away and feeling a greater sense of love within themselves, because because it's an act of self-honoring, and it really is. So anyone that comes and invests in photographing with me, it really is, it's up leveling in their saying yes to themselves and to their way, their mission, their purpose, their life, what they really want to express in the world, their value. you
Hmm.
know it's all a deeper acceptance of the perfection and the value and the beauty. The beauty.
Beauty.
the
Yes,
beauty that we all are, and a deeper opening to accepting that. So it's always so fulfilling when I see that with people opening up and that spark in that way.
well, it's healing. I think when people can see their true essence come forth from the work that you do, it's healing. And just being with you for these few minutes has been healing for me, and I'm deeply grateful. And maybe we can do something in the future again. I don't know, but anybody have any questions or comments you want to make? If you're online right now, otherwise you can make comments later because this will be recorded, and shortly it'll be recorded and back on the group. And Carl, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Wanda. It's such a pleasure.
Okay, all righty.